Today on the Locked On NFL podcast, we have quarterback debates because why not, right? It's the thing that drives everyone's conversation throughout the week in the NFL. But a recent tiered list that received reviews from quarterbacks, other NFL players, coaches, front office guys, all of them ranked all the quarterbacks in the NFL, veteran quarterbacks, by tiers. Where does your favorite quarterback rank? Who's too low? Who's too high? I'm Chris Carter here in the Locked On NFL podcast. I'm going to be joined by your boy Q, and we're going to rank those guys ourselves, give our reviews right here on the Locked On NFL podcast.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On NFL, your daily NFL podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to the Locked On NFL podcast. I'm Chris Carter. He's your boy Q. We're here on YouTube now. We're live. You can see our faces. Also, Q's government name is still hidden after I exposed it last week. But I'm Chris Carter. Yeah, I'm Chris Carter from Locked On Steelers. He's your boy Q from Locked On Raiders. If you're listening to this show and it's not on YouTube, or if you want to listen to the show when it's not on YouTube, you can download it on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcast, or Odyssey. That's AUDACY Odyssey, where you can get all your Locked On NFL and Locked On Anything podcasts here. Q, it's good to see your face. Well, I mean, I see your face every week anyways, but it's good that we're on YouTube together. This is going to be great.
Yeah, man, my mom always said I should be on the big screen, so now I'm on the YouTube. So I'm feeling good, man, and I'm going to see, I'm going to act like an old man, you know, it's like the Twitters, we're on the YouTubes. So
we're on the YouTubes with the S at the end, so yes, we're on the YouTube.
Yeah, man, so let's get it. Welcome in. I'm excited about the show. I'm excited about the conversation we're going to have. Quarterback, because, Chris, it's a quarterback-driven league, so let's get it.
It's a quarterback-driven league. Now, we're going to talk about a list here that was assembled by Mike Santo of The Athletic. He released this list recently, and it was about tiered quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, there were 5 tiers in his list here, Q, and the way this was explained was that this was a voting panel that included head coaches, coordinators, executives, quarterbacks, and other front office guys and all these different guys. They placed 34 different veteran quarterbacks, no rookies because they haven't seen them play in the NFL, between 5 tiers. Tier 1, the absolute best. Tier 5, the absolute worst. Quarterbacks were placed in right. So
if
we're
gonna tier 5, man. We ain't talking about you.
If you're in tier 5, it's just rough. You will not be brought up in this show.
Your team is picking in the top 5, and you're about to be replaced if you're a tier 5 guy.
You's out of here. Get him out of here. The quarterbacks, how this worked was that each voter voted for someone to be in a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and then you were assigned your tier based on the average amount of votes you got for that tier, for the most average votes that you got into a tier. So Q, with this, the top tier guys were obvious, right?
Right.
You know, tied at Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, and Deshaun Watson as your top 5 quarterbacks. They were the only top tier 1 guys on this list.
And that's debatable only with Deshaun Watson because he's number 5 and we know what he's got hanging over his head right now. So one could question and say, well, I don't know if he's going to be available, but I get it. When he's on the field, and that's what the article said, when he's on the field, he's a tier 1 guy, and I do believe that as well.
Right, and that's the thing. It's when he's on the field. If we're taking that into account, we're not taking off-field things into account. He is, and here's the thing, he's practicing right now. He did show up to training camp. I know there's still a lot of stuff in the air, and he's fighting things in court, and we're not here to debate what's going on there. But when he is on the field, he has proven to be a tier 1 quarterback in the NFL, which is why I think that's why, like, when he was trying to push his trade situation and this whole situation shut that down, there was going to be a ridiculous market to get Deshaun Watson off of the Houston Texans.
For sure. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him if a team is crazy enough to go out and make a move and try to trade for him while he's got this legal issues hanging over his head, or if they wait and kind of stall it out to see what happens when it all shakes out. But either way you look at it, man, it's an interesting situation. But again, going back to just on the field, which is what we're here to judge everyone for right now, he is a tier 1 guy.
So that's that situation. But Q, before we go into our first break here, I wanted to ask you a question. Who is the most likely person to break into tier 1 by the end of this season? Because we just named those 5 guys. Who is a person that if you ask people around the NFL this time, by at the end of the season or by this time next year, is going to be added to this tier 1 list, regardless of who gets removed from it for them to be replaced?
Man, that's a really good question. And there's a lot of good quarterbacks. And I say good because I think there's a lot more tier 2, tier 3 type guys. I think the majority of the league are 2 and 3 tier guys. If I had to pick one, I'm just going to roll the dice here. Oh, man, that's a really, really good question. You know what? This might be going out on a limb, but I like the guy a lot. And I had to be convinced that he was actually a really good quarterback because I didn't believe the hype when he first broke into the league. I'm going to roll with Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys.
Ooh, Dak Prescott.
He's got the opportunity to be a tier 1 guy coming back from a major ankle injury. I get it. He was out for the majority of the season in 2020. But if he's right and if he's healthy, the Cowboys with a lot of weapons out there, and I know that that's kind of one of the categories where you don't really need to have a lot of weapons. I still think that Dak Prescott can be a dynamic player with his legs and with his arm. So I'm going to say that if he has a really good season, he may be on the fringe. He may be a late tier 1 guy or a very, very early tier 2 guy.
I hear that. My guy is Josh Allen. And on this list, he was ranked he was the next quarterback that just outside of that tier 1. But Josh Allen took some serious steps. When he first came to the NFL, I'm like, he has all the tools. I want to see him to put it together.
Right.
And at first I was like, this guy is feeling his own hype. That playoff game he played against Deshaun Watson, the Texans, I mean, he was just panicking left and right. I'm like, I don't know, man. He has the tools, but he needs to get there. Last year, he was putting the tools together. And
that's a good one. That's a good one. You got me on that one. That's a really good one right there. I like that one.
He's good. And Emmanuel Sanders just yesterday on Twitter tweeted out about how, this dude, Josh Allen, just made this throw that made me drop my jaw. And I've been around this league for 10 years. So for me to drop my jaw, obviously, and that's a guy who's played with Peyton Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, both of them in their primes. And if Josh Allen's wowing Emmanuel Sanders, that says something. So Dak Prescott, Josh Allen, there are our 2 guys who are going to be tier 1 quarterbacks by next year. But we are still going to debate a few things here. In the next segment, we're going to talk about who was ranked too high on this list. By the way, again, this list is from Mike Santo of The Athletic. If you want to read it, go subscribe to The Athletic and get their work there. They do a lot of great stuff. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about who was ranked too high on Mike Sando's list. But first, we're going to talk to you about our friends at Built Bar. Remember, Built Bar is the candy bar or the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. If you want a healthy treat that tastes like a candy bar, Built Bar is the option for you. It's the official protein bar of the U.S. track and field team that's competing in the Olympics right now, and it comes in so many different flavors. Whether you want a fruity snack like raspberry, strawberry, or orange, or something different like salted caramel, cookies and cream, or my personal favorite, double chocolate, Built Bar has so many flavors to enjoy. And the best part, they're all healthy. They range from 130 to 180 calories with 17 to 18 grams of protein, 4 to 5 grams of sugar, and only 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. That's a tasty and healthy snack that'll save you from eating that snack that you'll regret later and stay on task with anyone's diet. Order one today and you can get your favorite flavor delivered right to your door. Go to built.com and use promo code LOCKED15. That's LOCKED15, all capital letters, no spaces, LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your order. Again, use the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. We'll be back here with more from Chris Carter and your boy Q right here on the Locked On NFL podcast right after this. Back here on the Locked On NFL podcast, I'm your boy Chris Carter here with your boy Chris, your boy Q.
My tagline. Wait, hold on, man. Player for. Wait, hold on.
I almost called that. That was a slip up. That was a live slip up. I was about to say I'm
this charade to YouTube, man. Hold on. First of all, you tried to steal the Raiders moniker and
Nobody stole the Raiders moniker. Everyone's Steelers Nation. Stop
you
this.
tried to steal that. Now you're trying to be your boy. And don't
I almost called myself your boy Q. I
Don't
caught it
think
in mid-sentence. Your boy Carter. My bad.
Hold on, man. Hold on, swallow him up. You think I didn't catch when you did your Built Bar read that you said double chocolate's your favorite, so you're trying to be more and more like me every day. You're trying to get
I ain't never heard you talk about Built Bar in your life.
You're trying to be your boy. You're trying to be a nation. You might as well just be me, man.
Stupid. You son stupid. Yeah, I'm not having this. I was slipping up and I said your boy. Oh, I'm not your boy Q. I gotta say your boy Carter.
I live rent free in your house. I live rent free in your mind.
Oh, okay, that's totally what that's about. Then that's totally what that's about. All right, Q. We got to get back on task. Q. We only got so much time here on the YouTubes. Remember, we're on YouTube right now. You can also listen to us on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcast, and Odyssey. So right back into these tier breakdowns of tiered quarterbacks. Now, again, we just talked about tier 1. Tier 1's obvious. I think everyone agrees with tier 1. But tier 2 through 5, and actually there were no tier 5 in this list. It seemed like there was only tier 4 that was as low as it got. But tier 2 through 4, there were some debatable guys here. Q, who was your guy? Who was one guy that you rated way too high on this list?
You know, I got a lot of chicken scratch on this paper in front of me of all these different names that either I like or I didn't like. And the one that stands out to me the most, new Rams quarterback Matt Stafford. And
I feel you.
I know Matt Stafford has a lot of arm talent. I know that he was a highly recruited guy coming out of high school, going to college. I know that he's a very good athlete, a very good quarterback. But, Chris, one thing that Matt Stafford does not have a lot of is wins.
Yeah.
Ranked as a tier 2 guy. And a tier 2 guy, according to this article, according to evaluators and coaches across the league, is the guy that can win you a championship just about on his own. And I know the first argument for Q, he doesn't have a lot of wins because he was in Detroit. Okay, going back to tier 2, a guy that can win you championships just about on your own. In Detroit, you would have to do it on your own. And he didn't do it on his own. So he had one of the best wide receivers. Matter of fact, a guy who's going to be going into Canton, Ohio next weekend.
Yes, indeed.
So he had some talent. Did he have a bad offensive line? Yep. Did he have no run game? Yep. Did he have, a lack of good coaching? Sure. But again, a tier 2 guy is a guy that could just about win you it on his own. And Matt Stafford proved that he couldn't do it on his own. Now he's in LA with Sean McVay. This will be a year, I do believe, that's going to tell you all you need to know about Matt Stafford. If he goes to LA and gets it done in that dog fight that is the NFC West, then I'll come back and I'll give him his respect. But until then, he's ranked way too high for me.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Right now, he's ranked way too. If this is based off their past performance, he has not delivered. And I'm with you that on the whole, yeah, sure, he's had a bad situation in Detroit. It's been one of the worst run franchises for a long time. But at the same time, you're supposed to at least pick them up, at least get them to the playoffs, at least carry them. If you're tier 2, and again, when you look at this list and some of the guys that he's over, he's ranked number 7, right behind Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. At number 7, he's ranked ahead of Dak Prescott, of Justin Herbert, of Matt Ryan, who's been to a Super Bowl with the Atlanta Falcons,
league MVP one time,
league MVP, Kyler Murray, Ryan Tannehill, Joe Burrow, Derek Carr, Ben Roethlisberger, 2-time Super Bowl champion Ben Roethlisberger,
right.
Kirk Cousins, guys who have Jared Goff. It's crazy enough, though. Jared Goff's been to a Super Bowl. As overrated as I think Jared Goff was when he first got to the league, and I think where he's actually on this list, tied at 19, ranked as far as it's put there, and he's in that tier 3. That's where he deserves to be now. But early on, he was getting too much hype. But Jared Goff has had more playoff success than this man. So you're right. He can change all that this year by delivering and actually performing with the Rams. Because again, you got the best player in football on the other side of the ball with Aaron Donald. You got the best cornerback in football in Jalen Ramsey. You got some serious weapons on your offense. You got a team. You got Sean McVay, who's supposed to be one of the young upstart coaches in the NFL. You got a lot of things going your way. You better deliver. If you don't this year, Q and I are going to do this podcast again next year and do this and say the same thing. Overrated. So
yeah. So let me know who's the guy that you think is ranked a little bit too high right now on this tier list.
Now, this isn't saying that this guy's bad per se. This is just saying it's too early. And it's Justin Herbert. He was put into tier 2. He's tied with Dak Prescott at 9th overall. Listen, I'm excited about Justin Herbert. The Chargers are one of my dark horse teams in the AFC this year to do some serious damage. But there's people voting him into tier 1 already. That's too much. Like if Herbert can do this again consistently when people know what's coming, who he's coming, or how he's coming at you, then I'll be like, all right, he deserves to be in that tier 2. And again, this isn't saying he stinks, but he's above Matt Ryan, and I'm like, Matt Ryan's at least earned that respect a little bit. He's above Kyler Murray, he's been there a couple years, he's been doing it. He's getting above guys who have been through the wars, have had the rougher situations, and I'm just like, Justin Herbert, you look like you could be tier 2, but I have a hard time picking guys who were first-year players to be up there against dudes who have been doing it for 3, 4, 5, 10 years even, and have put together and been through. And even though their situations may be in rougher spots than he is right now, I'd still take some of those veterans over him in this tiered situation.
Now, I understand exactly what you're talking about, and a guy who watches Justin Herbert and the Chargers multiple times a year because of being in the AFC West, I'll have to say I think that Justin Herbert is the truth. And where you're right, it might be a little early for him. There's no rookies on this list for a reason. This guy is just a one-year guy. So I could totally understand where you're coming from, but man, it's hard not to like what he's got going on, right? It is hard not to like. He is a very, very talented dude. So
absolutely.
I totally understand where you're coming from. I can see where he's up there a little bit too quickly, but we all do know what the NFL does. The NFL, they project. They say, "Oh, this guy is, his possibilities. He's got the projection of a guy who could potentially be a Hall of Fame type quarterback." I don't know about all that, but I do know he's really good at what he does. I was impressed by his rookie year. Let's see what he does his second year. Now that he's got a new coaching staff that he's got to work with, how does he adapt to that? That will be the telltale tale right there.
It will be a telltale tale. Now here's another guy. This guy we talked about before the show. We agreed on this guy being too high, and he's in a very similar situation as Justin Herbert, but he doesn't have the numbers of Justin Herbert, and that's Joe Burrow, who we both think is ranked too high on this list. Now Burrow,
he didn't even play the whole year.
He played 9 games. They were 2-7 or 10 games. I think they were 2-7-1 in those games. He was ranked 14th in tier 2.
Yeah,
he's above Derek Carr, above Ben Roethlisberger, above Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, and it's like, listen, I get it. I get that there's hype around this young man, but I'm sorry, until I see a complete season from him, I can't put him in that tier 2 with all these other guys. Like honestly, I feel Justin Herbert completed the whole year. I know what I have a much better sense of who Justin Herbert is than I do of Joe Burrow, and I'm saying it's too early to put Justin Herbert up there. So there's no way that I'm putting Joe Burrow that high if I'm not putting Justin Herbert that high.
Yeah, and on top of that, again, going back to what a tier 2 quarterback is, a guy who could win you a championship just about on his own. Well, what did he do at LSU when he won a national championship? He had nothing but talent.
Stars.
Him. And what did he do his rookie year? And I'm not talking about get injured, but what did he do his rookie year with the Bengals? Not a whole lot. Yeah. Not a whole lot. And they didn't have a whole lot. So, he's almost in the Matt Stafford category. A guy with a lot of arm talent, a guy that you believe could be a really good quarterback, but he needs to be surrounded by some talent. Oh, by the way, Cincinnati, he needs to be surrounded by a good offensive line too.
Yeah, they passed on getting a Penei Sewell for Jamar Chase. And listen, Jamar Chase, sexy pick, great. I think he's a very tough. But Joe Burrow. Listen, 13 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, cool. In 11 games or 10 games, I don't know. Like that's I don't know if 1.3 touchdowns a game is what I want to be averaging. But he got sacked 32 times. If that's the same this year, and you're going up against the Steelers, who have T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith, Melvin Ingram, Cam Hayward, and Stephon Tuitt, you're going up against the Bears. They're going to have Khalil Mack. You're going up against Myles Garrett twice a year. You're going to go up against a lot of teams that are going to get after the quarterback. The Green Bay Packers are going to be in that mix. Man, you better be ready to take some pressure, and it don't look like that they are. I am nervous, just like I was last year, and I said I like Joe Burrow as a player. I think he has potential, but they needed to protect him. They didn't last year, and we saw what happened. I'm afraid for that young man. He's going to get hurt again. I hope he doesn't, because I think that he can be really great if he's not hurt.
Yeah, so, that P word, man, that P word potential is scary because, it's there. But, Doc, he averaged getting sacked 3 times a game last year.
Yep.
Think about that. You can't win games from your back. You can't be lying on your back to try to win games. So I don't think that they did him a service by passing on Penei Sewell. I thought that was a mistake, but they did it because they wanted to get the sexy pick. So you got it. Now you better protect the guy, the trigger man. And we've seen quarterbacks that have come into the league with a lot of talent, and because they can't be protected, they can't go out there and perform to the best of their abilities. So I'm not hating on Joe Burrow, the player. I'm hating on Joe Burrow being a tier 2 guy in an organization that didn't really build the team the way you should from the inside out.
Agreed. And that's one reason the Cincinnati Bengals have struggled for so long, is because I don't think that they know how to do that. But we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we want to talk about who was rated too low on this list. Who do we think deserved more credit on this list? From Chris Carter and your boy Q here on the Locked On NFL podcast. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Locked On NFL podcast. I'm Chris Carter. He's your boy Q. We are holding it down on the Friday episode of Locked On NFL. Remember, we're on YouTube now. Subscribe to our channel by searching Locked On NFL on YouTube. Subscribe there, or subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or Odyssey to get us on the audio version on right to your mobile device, computer, however you like to listen to podcasts. Q, we just talked about who was overrated. Now let's talk about who was underrated on this list.
Talk about the guy who looks like a nightlight because it's so bright in his house. If you're looking at YouTube,
you're so funny. That's like you make fun of. Yeah, you're so funny. Yeah, I'm still working on my set here, man. Calm down with that. Calm down with that. I'm working on it.
Man, I'm trying to give you some shine. You're looking good, man.
Thank you.
I'm in the dark dungeon. Yeah. I'm in the dark dungeon. You're in the lighted room.
We're the yin and the yang of the Locked On NFL podcast.
Yeah. Oh, you're the Steph Curry. I'm the Draymond Green.
Oh my gosh, you really went there. I wasn't gonna go. Okay, I
went there. I don't care.
My man, that's that. You sir are funny. But all right, let's wrap up this show. We got a few minutes here to talk about these last stuff. So who was underrated? I'm gonna start here with who was ranked too low on this list. And I'm gonna start with Dak Prescott. And I know Dak Prescott was tied for 9th on this list, so he was pretty doggone high. But I only say that because there were 2 guys tied at 7. I think that he's above Matt Stafford, and I would not tie him with Justin Herbert. I think that he should be ranked number 7 by him, or number 8 by himself, without any guys being tied to him at all. I look at this and I think, like, man, like I'll keep Lamar Jackson over him. I'll keep Josh Allen in the top 5 guys over him. But he's right there above Matt Stafford. Again, this is a guy who's put together a more complete season, and he's had better records than Matt Stafford.
Right, exactly. And he's the guy that I talked about. Remember, I said I think he's going to have the potential to take the biggest jump in 2021 and get closer to that tier 1 guy. So I agree with you 100%. And again, when you have Matt Stafford ranked and tied for 7th, I think there's a lot of guys that are probably ranked a little too low if Stafford's ranked that high. So I think Dak has a lot of ability, man. And being a 4th round guy, he was a 4th round compensatory pick. The Cowboys didn't want him. They wanted Paxton Lynch. They wanted Connor Cook. They wanted any quarterback but Dak Prescott, and they lucked out. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. They lucked out and fell into a good situation with Dak Prescott.
They wanted Johnny Manziel. Wanted Johnny Manziel. Like imagine that nightmare.
Yep, exactly right. So they really lucked into a great situation, and as long as Dak is healthy in 2021, which I believe he will be, I think that they're going to be, and he's going to be a really good quarterback for that team. Now, for that team to be successful this year, that defense has got to be a lot more improved than it was last year. It was awful. It was actually worse than the Raiders, and the Raiders were terrible, and the Cowboys were a little bit worse. So for them to be successful and get a bunch of W's, the defense is going to have to carry its side of the ball and carry its weight, but Dak is going to be all right.
We'll see if Micah Parsons can help him do that. Q, who's your guy that you think is ranked too low?
You know what? I'm going to go with a Texas boy, and I don't mean a Texas boy that plays on a Texas team. I'm talking about a dude that's from the state of Texas. I'm going to talk about Kyler Murray, and that's a guy that came in, I believe, at number 12. Was he number 12?
Yeah, number 12 on the list.
Yeah, he's number 12. He's behind Matt Ryan. He's behind Justin Herbert. He's behind Dak. He's behind Matt Stafford. And again, Kyler Murray, he's a little bit small. I didn't even think he was going to be a quarterback in the league. I thought his best option was going to go play baseball. But the one thing Kyler Murray has shown all of us throughout the course of his life, not just his NFL career, his life, is that he's a bona fide winner. There's certain guys that are just winners. He won in high school, he won in college, and he's winning in life. I mean, the guy was a top 10 pick in baseball. He was a number 1 overall pick in football. I mean, the guy he's got that winning. I just wish he would loan me a little bit of his winning traits, because I would have a little bit more skins on the wall. Maybe just loan me some wins on lottery day. You know what I mean? And I can maybe cash in on lottery day. I don't need too much of his good luck. I just need a little something. I don't need to hit all 7 numbers. Just give me 3 or 4. I'll take the cash and I'll run.
There you go.
I'm telling you, but Kyler Murray is a bona fide winner, and I think that he's actually doing better than his head coach. I think he's a better quarterback than his head coach, Cliff Kingsbury, is allowing him to be. I think that Kyler Murray is going to go out there this year and show everybody really who he can be, taking that next step as a starting quarterback. And I think the people in Arizona are going to benefit from that. So I'll say that Kyler Murray at number 12, because the fact he's behind Justin Herbert, who only has 1 year of production, and he's behind Matt Ryan, who's getting a little bit older in the tooth, even though a league MVP at one point and a Super Bowl guy at one point. He's getting a little bit older in the tooth. I think that Kyler Murray is part of that new wave quarterback, and I think that you're going to see how good he could be in 2021.
Now, the next guy we have on the list, we both agreed on, who was ranked too low here. We both agreed on Ben Roethlisberger, the Steelers quarterback. Now, I know some of you out there, Ben Roethlisberger, how is he? Well, here's the thing. Ben Roethlisberger was ranked in Tier 3 as the 16th best quarterback in the NFL. And they talked about how at the end of the season he fell apart. But listen, you talk about some of the things here. He had the worst rushing offense in the NFL. His offensive line was falling apart. His defense fell apart. There was a lot of things going wrong for him. And somehow, with all those things working against him and him coming off of an elbow surgery, the team was 12-4.
Right.
And like all those things were wrong with the Steelers. And this is the same thing why I tell people, people are saying the Steelers are going to be 5-12 this year. They're not even going to compete. They might come in last place in the NFC North. I'm like, what? On what evidence do you base that on? The defense was number 3 last year. They added Melvin Ingram. Alex Highsmith looks like a solid replacement as well on the edge for Bud Dupree. They got 2 guys out there. Devin Bush is back healthy. Neil Fitzpatrick's the best safety in football. TJ Watt, one of the best. Go ahead.
Let me ask you this. When's the last time the head coach went 5-12?
Never. He's never had a losing season in his life. Mike Tomlin to this day has never had a losing season. And right now, that is the longest all time of any NFL head coach. I think actually Curly Lambeau is the one who still has the record, but it is ridiculous how Mike Tomlin has continued. And he's had every opportunity to. When Ben Roethlisberger went down, they were 0-2 in 2019. Mason Rudolph went down. They were down to a 4th string undrafted rookie quarterback who didn't even play Division I FCS football. He was the Duck, Devlin Hodges, and somehow they finished at 8-8 that season.
Yep.
They were like don't tell me that Mike Tomlin's going to let his team fall apart. And Ben Roethlisberger also been a part of that. He's been huge there. And here's another reason why you got it too low. You got him ranked under Derek Carr. If you're a big Derek Carr believer, okay, but you can't rank him under Joe Burrow. You can't rank him. You can't rank him under Matt Stafford. I think Matt Ryan. Okay, we can have some debates there. You can't rank him under Justin Herbert already when they had basically the same touchdown to interception ratio. I'm not saying that he's Tier 1, but I'm saying at least mid to low Tier 2. That's a comfortable place to put Ben Roethlisberger.
I agree. Tier 2 for sure. He's been there, done that. He's got that veteran skill. He's that guy that I look at the YMCA that he might be a little bit older. His skill may be a little bit deteriorated.
He's still got a game.
He's still got a game, and he knows how to game you, right? It's like, okay, I might not be able to do it here, but I can reinvent myself and do it here. He's committed himself to being in better physical shape this year, came into camp, and as a guy who's been there.
I've been there.
He's there in good shape. He's ready to show everybody. He took a haircut to be able to come back and return to the Steelers, so he committed to the team. I mean, that guy. And look, as a guy who hosts the Locked On Raiders podcast, Derek Carr ranked at number 15, the very first quarterback in Tier 3. I think that's perfect for him. But Big Ben shouldn't be behind him.
I'm right with you. Yeah,
he should be a Tier 2 guy. So, I agree with you 100%. He's got the wherewithal. He's got the veteran leadership. He knows how to get it done. He's got a head coach that's never had a losing season. I mean, what else do you want? I definitely believe with all the situations that they had last year, still went 12-4. Give me a break. Tier 2 guy, no doubt about it.
Tier 2 guy. And here's the thing. For those who might be saying, Chris Carter's a homer because he's locked on Steelers and he covers the Steelers. Listen, I'm one of the people in Pittsburgh that criticize Ben Roethlisberger when it's worthy. When he messes up, when he throws his 5 interceptions games, I'm one of the first ones that said he did this, and this. And there's plenty of people in town that do that and don't ever criticize Ben Roethlisberger when he messes up. I'm not one of those people. In fact, I get called a racist because they're like, you hate white people because you hate Ben Roethlisberger. And I'm like, all I said was he should have thrown a couple less picks.
They've obviously never seen you on YouTube if they're saying that about you.
All right.
Looking self, man.
Yeah, you stop it. You stop it right now.
Waffle.
Oh my gosh. I can't stand you. I cannot stand you. All right. We got one more question here before we out on the Locked On NFL podcast. Q, of all the quarterbacks on this list, who's going to make the biggest jump in 2021?
Oh man. Well, I mean, I said it at the beginning of the show. I feel like Dak Prescott's going to take that jump to tier number 1. So I'm gonna ride with Dak and I'm gonna ride with Kyler Murray. I think those two dudes are gonna take the biggest jump in this year. So I kind of cheated and gave you 2 guys, but I think that Kyler takes a big jump forward, and I think that Dak Prescott shows everybody that he's, if not a tier 1 guy, he's close. He's very, very close. So I'm gonna ride with Dak and Kyler.
See, man, you cheated, man. Because now I look back because we prepared only one, man. We prepared one. We did a whole segment. We did an hour and a half prep for this show, and we did one. And now you just now I'm gonna look back because I only got one.
If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. So what?
So you stabbed me in the back, Al Davis. All right. You want to hit me with that? Fine. We can play this. We can play this game. All right. I'll pick up 2. So my first one is Carson Wentz.
Stalling.
All right, fine. I'll quit stalling. My number 1 here, who's going to make the top jump, is Carson Wentz. He was ranked as tier 3. He was ranked as tier 3. They put him tied as the 19th best quarterback in the NFL. Here's the reason why: his reunion with Frank Reich. When Frank Reich was in Philly, there was magic in the air. He was an NFL MVP candidate before he tore his ACL and went out for the season. And the effort that he gave Philly the energy they did to win their only Super Bowl in franchise history. So I see him going to an offense with Jonathan Taylor in the run game, with Quentin Nelson in a really good offensive line, with a good defense led by Darius Leonard, and they're going to have talent there, and he's going to have a couple weapons to throw to. I think Carson Wentz resurrects his career. I'm not saying tier 1, but I'm saying he's definitely going to get into the upper part of tier 2. Now, I do think at some point in his career, he's going to kind of fall back down because I think that he kind of got exposed a little bit. But in this offense, I think that he's going to get some respect that he deserves, and you're going to see Carson Wentz get a lot more hype. It can't be Pennsylvania anymore because he's not in Pennsylvania, so I guess he's in Wensiana. That doesn't even sound right, but you get what I'm saying, Q.
I really do, and I know that we got to wrap it up, so I'm going to just keep it short and sweet. I think that Carson Wentz has the biggest boom or the biggest bust potential. I think he could possibly be that guy you're talking about and make that real big jump because of his relationship with Frank Reich, or he could just be a broken quarterback like a lot of people think he's a broken quarterback, especially in Pennsylvania and Philly, and just kind of drop off and stay as that tier 3 guy and maybe even drop into tier 4. So, the jury's still out, but he does have, going back to the P word, a lot of potential for the 2021 season.
My next guy on the list, I'm going way down here. Simply, I don't think that Jalen Hurts is going to be a superstar or anything, but they have him ranked as the 30th guy in the NFL. They have him ranked clearly at tier 4. I think he jumps up into tier 3 this year with a little bit of experience and a coach that actually believes in him and doesn't bench him at random point in times to pull him out, and he's sitting on the sideline shaking his head. I think that Jalen Hurts shows up some people. He surprises some people. I say upper tier 3, working his way to tier 2. Not a huge jump to make him like an elite quarterback, but as far as how many places he'll jump up, I think that with a coach that believes in him and a system around him, I think that he's actually going to make a jump this year. And I'm only picking him because Q cheated and went 2 in this last segment here. We were supposed to do 1. Way to go, Q.
That's true. I did do that. But I'll say Jalen Hurts, that's going to be interesting. I'm paying attention to him as well. And apparently you're living in the Philadelphia world, so it's okay. I'm interested to see what goes on with Jalen Hurts. That's a guy I like coming out of college. I just don't know if he's ready to take over that starting role yet, but we will see. And I'll be interested to see if Philly really does love him or if they end up making a move for Deshaun Watson at some point. So
that's the other thing. If they trade, then it's
So I like it.
Yeah, listen, I have too many Philly friends to not shut this out. If I did this, I'd have some driving over the 4-mile drive to Pittsburgh, knocking on my door and punching me in the face because my Eagle friends, they get really rowdy, just like most Philly fans do. But Q, this has been a great first episode for us on the Locked On NFL YouTube channel. This has been awesome, man. Let people know they can find you, follow you, and get more of your work.
Well, if they're looking at YouTube, they can see the graphic on the screen at your boy Q254. That's where I'm at. You can find me, everything I do, Locked On Raiders podcast, Locked On Bets with my guy Lee Sterling from ParamountSports.com. Do it all. Definitely check it out on the daily. I tweet it all out at your boy Q254. And Chris, where can they find your work?
As always, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at my handle, Carter Cortez, which you can see below. But you can also listen to my work at the Locked On Steelers podcast, where it's downloaded just like you get Locked On NFL. We have a YouTube channel, so if you want to subscribe to Locked On Steelers, do that and get our daily videos Monday through Friday, just like you do for Locked On NFL. You can also download us just like you get Locked On NFL or Locked On Raiders on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or your app Odyssey. Download us there. Read my work at dkpittsburghsports.com. Q, it's always fun doing this with you. Looking forward to doing it again with you next week as we finally get some football. The Hall of Fame game will be in there. We're finally going to get some preseason football. We're going to get some action. We got some Hall of Fame stuff to talk about. It's going to be a fun week. I will talk to you then, my friend.
All right, my man. Be good. Appreciate you as always. And yeah, man, we'll be coming live from Canton, Ohio next week. So very excited about that, the site of the Hall of Fame game.